G'day, Year 9 I Stand. Mr. Dingle here with another video series, and we're going to be creating our dinosaurs that we made out of cardboard, but this time we're going to make it in OnShape, and then we're going to put it into a laser cutter and hit the go button and watch how much better laser cutters are than just a pair of scissors or a scalpel for that matter. So this is what we're going to end up with. You are going to take whatever dinosaur you sketched and created, hopefully a nice neat one with proper dimensions and all that kind of stuff, because when we put it into OnShape, we want a really clean design with a really good set of dimensions so we can make sure it's the right size and shape and all that kind of sorts. And then we're going to assemble it in OnShape, and then we're going to export it over into the software so we can laser cut it at the end. So this is going to be the end result, and what we are going to start with is a simple sketch. So let's start at the beginning. I'm going to go back to the home page, and we're going to make a brand new document. So let me head over here. And the first thing you're going to need to do, everybody, is make sure you're logged into OnShape. That's your job, not mine. I can't administer your passwords because that's not how OnShape works. The second thing you're going to have to do is sketch out your dinosaur and get a photo that is really accurate to your sketch. So I've actually taken separate photos of the legs and the body, and I'm first of all going to spend a few minutes just cleaning up the sketches and getting those into OnShape. So here's the body sketch that I did. And as you can see, I've got some rough measurements in terms of how big the cuts are going to be, what's the total height, the total width, and all that kind of stuff. The first thing I want to do is I want to rotate this so it's the right way. So let's just quickly, if you're in Windows, you can use the Photos app just by clicking this button up here a couple of times, and bam, we're into it. The second thing you want to do is crop this. So get rid of all the junk on the outside. I want to crop it so it's just touching the nose, the tail, the belly, and the back. So I'm going to hit this button up here, Edit Image. And inside here, the first option here is crop. Simply click on it and you'll get these little handles around the corners. And I'm going to grab them, shrink them in so it's just about touching. Probably not exactly touching, because that would probably cause a few problems if you overlaid it. And there you go. So get it so it's just touching the edges of the line. It doesn't have to be incredibly accurate, but as close as possible. And I'm going to hit Save Options and save a copy. So I've still got the original one with all the dimensions, and then I've got the cropped versions with just the body. So let's go into my Sketches folder, Dino, Sketch, Body, Cropped, wabam, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for the legs. So it's already rotated, so I'm not going to hit that. We're going to edit, crop, and for this one, I'm actually going to cheat because I don't need two pairs of legs. I only need one. Is that the good one? Or is this the good one? I might use this one. This one feels a little bit better in terms of like each leg looks a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for here? Symmetrical, that's the word. Let's go save as copy. Dino legs cropped. Okay, so there we go. I've got my cropped body and my cropped legs, and those are the images that I'm actually going to bring into OnShape so I can sketch over the top of it as like a bit of a reference image. And this happens all the time in designs. People will get like a rough design of something, jam it into the CAD software, and then use that to create a final version. So the next part of the video, guys, we are just going to get the image in there. We're going to set it up properly, and then we're going to start drawing over the top of it. So let's go Create at the top left, hit Document. And this one here, we're going to call it Dino. And I'm going to call this version 2 because I've already got a version 1. So I'm going to call this version 2. Create Document. Give it a few seconds. Okay, and now we're ready to get going. So what I want to do first is turn off the front and the right. So because I'm going to laser cut this, it's going to be laying down flat. So I'm just going to sketch all of this on the top plane. So let's get rid of the front and the right. So we're only left with this guy. And let's get that image inserted into here. So the way you insert an image is you come up to your toolbar and you come across. Now, if you couldn't tell, I actually forgot where the button was, and that's because we first of all need to sketch. So let's grab a sketch, click on our top plane just here, and do our good old zoom in by clicking on our friendly cube up here. And now we can insert the image. So to find the insert image button, go to this DXF button, but don't click it. Click on the drop down next to it and choose the insert image option. And you get this insert an image panel. I'm not a huge fan of it, but down here's the import button. So now I need to go to that folder where I found my cropped pictures I saved. So I always save my stuff in Google Drive. Go to My Drive, School, Course Resources, iSTEM, Year 9, Topic 2, Dino, Sketches. Okay, so I only want the cropped ones. So let's select that one. And I can actually insert more than one at a time by holding the Control key on the keyboard and clicking on the second image and then just hitting open. Okay, there's the upload, and I should see both of them appear up here in a second. Bam and bam. Mark all as read. Go away. All right, so I've got my two images here, and we're going to start with the body because that's obviously the more complex shape, and the legs will take us 2 seconds. So if I grab the body cropped image just by clicking on it, and it says draw an image rectangle, I'm going to go boop. There you go. That's how you get your image in. And you can click and drag the image around. You can lock it into place, but right now I'm not going to worry about it. What I would like to do is, all right, I want to figure out how big is this picture currently? Because right now, this could be any size at all. So I want to lock the sides into the correct dimensions. So if I go back to my original image I scanned, I wrote down the height is 6.5 and the length is 18 centimeters. So let's do that. Let's make the length 18 and the height 6.5 by using the dimension tool. So click on this guy, click on the bottom. Oh, I was close. So 18 centimeters. Okay, and this size, oh, it's very close, 6.5. You know what? I'm going to leave that. It just gave me an error. I'm going to ignore it because why not? And there we go. There's my sketch that I can go over the top of. Now, what I would like to do, rather than starting to draw my dinosaur right now, I'm going to hit the tick and I'm going to insert a second sketch over the top. And the reason for that is because I'm not going to accidentally move this picture while I'm doing my sketch of the dinosaur. And later on, I can just turn it off. Okay, it's as simple as that. So let's add a second sketch right on top plane and let's start sketching. Now you might, depending on the shape of your dinosaur, like if he's got a really long neck or if he's got a very square body, you might start off just by grabbing a rectangle, drawing a part of the body, and then you maybe draw a second part of the body and whatever like that. And you can join them together when you're finished. Okay. But what I'm going to do, because my dinosaur is essentially just curves, except for the horns at the front. So what I'm going to do for this video, guys, is introduce you to another drawing tool. Aside from all these basics and the line tool, I'm going to introduce you to splines. So the way splines work is you essentially draw a rough curve and then it gives you all these extra points that you can drag and manipulate, and it tries to make a smooth line between those curves. To show you what I'm talking about before I start drawing my dinosaur, let's click over here, click once, click twice, and see as I move it, it bends the line. So, and if the closer the lines, the more aggressive or bigger the bend becomes. So you can draw all sorts of shapes with a spline. I'll just hit escape to finish there. And you end up with this weird curvy sort of line with all these dots. Now, what I'd recommend is when you're using the spline tool, go nuts with the dots. Okay, you can have as many dots as you like. However, I tend to try and go quite minimal with my dots, and then later on I'll come back and add any more that I think I need. And then you can move them into place. And the other piece of advice I'm going to give you is make sure you only do segments of your dinosaur. So I'm going to do the back here and probably the top of the tail as one piece, and I'll stop my spline. Then I'm going to do the bottom bit, probably to about here and stop again. Then I'll do the front, stop, horn, stop, and you're probably getting the point by now. You want to stop as many times as you can, and I'll show you why in just a sec. So let's start off. I'm going to start right here where it dips. Click there, move up a bit. Don't worry that it's straight, because when you click again on the line and you keep on going, you see it automatically bends the line. Click again. Now you're going to get this problem every now and again where it's going to grab onto edges. Try and ignore it. We can fix it later. Click there. As I said, go nuts with the amount of dots you need to use. Okay, I'm middle clicking, by the way, with the mouse to drag it along. Click here, click there. And now I don't want another dot. I just want to stop there. I'm going to hit escape on the top of the keyboard. ESC, by the way, if you don't know what that means. Okay, and there we go. Now I'm going to turn the spline tool off just for a second. Leave the sketch on though. And as you can see, we've got a pretty good line. This bit up here is a bit wonky. So what I'm going to do is just zoom in on it. And without the spline tool selected, you can click and drag on these points. Now, I said don't worry about this point locking onto the line. Now, it can be a bit of a problem. If I select this dot, you'll see we've got this little icon. What that is a perpendicular constraint. It's this one here. So it means, coincident I should say, is that dot is now locked onto that line and it will never go away from it. So if I try and drag it up and down, you see it only goes left and right on the line now. To get rid of that, okay, I'm going to click on the line, or click on the dot I should say, select this weird little icon and just hit the delete key. And now I can drag it up and down. So don't stress about it locking into place. You can always just delete the lock and move it around. So let's quickly try and clean up this line a little bit. There's a few bits I don't like, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. Overall, let's stretch that out. That's great. This one's got a lock on it as well, so I'm going to click there. Go away. Okay, and doesn't want to move for me. Woo! Why don't you want to move? You're being a bum. What is going on there? What is? Whoa. That is OnShape wigging out hard. Go away with that. Okay, so one thing, if you find there is a spot... Oh, no, let me rewind for a second. The reason we're going to do this in lots and lots of different little segments is because... Can you see this little white dot here? Now, this white dot is a handle. It is not a point on my spline. The blue dots are the points. These ones, if I grab this handle, you can see that allows me to change the angle of that initial dot. Okay? So if I move this dot along, I can actually stretch it so it starts to create this curve here. Now, I've destroyed this line. So that's when I'm going to go in here. And instead of going spline, I'm going to go control point. And click here to get a new one. And then we'll just drag it into place. Let's fix that up. There we go. So you can see things are a little bit smoother. Whoa, what have you done over here, mate? Get back over there. That was, yeah, that was weird. Okay, now what I'm going to do is we are simply going to start that all again. Well, I've got a couple of points here. Why have I got 2 points? Can I just delete that point? End points of a spline cannot be deleted. What about this one? Cannot delete spline tangent handles. Wow, this is bugging pretty hard for me, guys. But it looks okay, so I'm all right with that. All right, let's do the next piece by going spline, grab the end, and just do the exact same process. Again, use as many lines, points as you like. Go nuts. Whoopsie doodle. Stop there. We're going to start curving up there. Oh, I might be able to do the whole jaw in one piece, actually. I don't like his nose, actually. His nose is horrid. I should fix that later on. All right, I'm happy with that. Now this I'm not happy with, but just give me a second to fix that. I'm going to click it, and you'll notice that I've got another bloody icon there. So let's delete that icon. We should be able to drag that up. Drag that up a little bit. I'm actually really happy with how that turned out. Yeah, oh, maybe the tail needs a little bit of stretching down like that. Otherwise, that's looking pretty good. All right, let's finish the head. So for this one here, I'm not going to use the spline. I'm just going to use lines. Why would you use a spline if you don't have to? Click, hit escape. I'll use a spline because this is a bit bent. So click, click, escape, and you get the little handles. So just grab those, drag them up. Again, straight lines for the next horn. Bonk, 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 escape, spline, click, 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 escape. Now this point here looks absolutely shocking. So let's try and fix this up a little bit by using these little control point handles. That's heaps better. And there we go. There's our dinosaur. Done and dusted. So if we hit the tick for this guy here, we have now got our two sketches. We've got the original image that we imported and the new sketch. So what I'm going to do to make this solid is I'm going to hide this guy. There he is right there. And we're going to extrude him just like we normally would. All right, I've just discovered an issue with my sketch. The fact that it's still white tells me there's some errors. And I actually don't like this bit down here. I might fix that too. But it's not a solid 2D shape. The line has to be a continuous solid line. Just like in paint back in the day, you had to have a complete shape that when you use the bucket tool, it fills it all in. So the issue actually comes from, I'm going to double click on my sketch too. It comes from this stupid tail that I was trying to fix up before. These stupid points. I don't know how I created those. I'd like to know. What I'm going to do is select both of these circles here and hit concentric, and it joins those together, and you can see all of a sudden I've got a gray shape that indicates it's now solid. I can turn that original sketch back on and drag this into place. I can't delete that endpoint, but whatever. I'm going to put up with it for now. And I'll fix up this bottom bit in the future. All right, let's turn off that sketch again. Let's extrude. Extrude this guy. Now, how much are we going to extrude by? We're only going to extrude by 3 millimeters, purely because that's the size of the material we've got. Well, bam. There is our lovely 2D looking dinosaur body. Now, the next thing I need to introduce is those little cuts for where the legs are going to slot in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewind back to sketch number 2 just by double clicking on it. We'll go top, and I'll turn sketch 1 back on so I can see where they are. So they're there and there. And I'm going to cheat a little bit here, guys. I'm going to use a rectangle to represent the cutout. So if you just go rectangle, start up here, just a corner to corner rectangle, click and drag, go straight through it. Don't worry about the overlap. Boop. It's not perfect. Let's move that into place just by clicking on the little anchor points. There you go. And the only thing I want to do is size this so it's the right depth in terms of like how thick is that cut going to be. If that makes sense. So let's dimension this guy. Ooh. Now the material is 3 millimeters thick. Currently this is like 0.5 of a millimeter, so it's quite tiny. What I'd like you to do is only do half the thickness of your material for cardboard. 1.5 millimeters. Why did you go over there, mate? What are you doing, OnShape? You are bugging out hard. Let's try that again, shall we? You know what? I might even just be lazy and try and get 0.15. There we go. All right. Don't worry about the height of this guy at all. Now, by the way, I'm going to leave all these errors in because I want you guys to see I'm human as well. Okay, same thing with this one. Let's get the right shape. Bonk. 1 point. Oh, how's that? Got it in 1. Okay, now the way we're going to use these is just simply by hitting click. Because you've overlapped those shapes, one shape goes, you haven't included that little rectangle, so let's leave it out. So it automatically chops it out. It's such a handy little thing to do. Now I'm going to leave you guys to do your legs by yourself, okay? I'm going to pause the video and do mine, but it's the exact same process. Get the image in, use your splines to get all that sketching done, use the rectangle to do the cutout, and extrude your legs. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to do the same thing I just did for this guy right here. But before I do, one thing I forgot to show you how to make another piece. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is name this part down here. So I'm going to right click, rename, just call it body. And to make the legs in a separate window, gotta love it when your webcam falls off. All right. So let's make a brand new part in our OnShape document. You click on the plus down here, you go create part studio, and it's just going to give you a blank window again that you can start building. So I'm going to do the legs the exact same way. Turn off these guys. Okay, sketch on the top, insert your picture, but this time the legs should already be there, so you can click and drag. and then I'll go figure out the dimensions, get the right size, and draw it. Okay, pause time. Okay, so I sort of lied. I drew most of my legs, and I want to show you a couple of tricks along the way. Now, as you can see, I've done the image, I've created a sketch out of that, I sized it correctly, inserted my splines, just drew, as accurate as I possibly could. What I did though is I made sure that these 2 points were on the exact same spot. And what I'm going to do now is cheat. I'm going to mirror them, okay? And the way we're going to do that is we are going to create a line that cuts straight through the center of this picture. We're then going to make sure these dots touch that line straight through the center. And we're going to tell OnShape that everything on the left-hand side is going to be on the right-hand side as well. It's really cool. I'll show you how to do it now by grabbing the line tool. Let's start in the middle of my picture, go down to the other middle, hit escape. Now what I want to do is I don't want this line to be included as part of the shape. So what you do there, let me fix my little webby cam, is click on this one here, which says construction line. Basically that says to OnShape, this is a line, it's important, but I'm not going to have it as part of my shape. Don't draw it, don't make it into a 3D object. It's just there as a guide. And as you can see, I was a bit off, okay? I tried to get the center, no, did not. Now if I click and drag this across, I'm going to try and put this exactly on that line. Okay, a bit up on this one as well. Now what I'm going to do is use the mirror tool. So the mirror tool is a great way of just basically duplicating your work and halving the time that it takes to do it. The mirror tool is this guy right here. If I click on this, the first thing it asks me is what's the line that we mirror around? And that's this guy in the middle. Click on that. Then it says, what do you want to mirror? What entities are going to be mirrored? Well, let's go through and click on all the splines that I drew. Okay, click on the lines, not on the dots. And look at that, it actually filled in the shape to tell me it's a solid shape. Whoops, don't select the dot. There we go. It's not perfect, but for the sake of time, I'm going to leave it. So let's turn off this guy, extrude the legs, and again, 3 millimeters, because that's the size of our material. Okay, I still need to do the cutout. So let's go back into Sketch 2, because I forgot about it, because I'm a goose. Turn that sketch back on. Well, that's not very much help, because I forgot to actually do it. This time I'm going to use a corner rectangle, purely because that allows me to start here, and then I can just sort of go up, and I only want 1.5. So 0.15, wabam, hit the tick. Oh, look at that, it's already Canute. Beautiful. Let's rename this. Right click, rename, legs. All right, and turn that sketch back off. There we go, we have got a pair of legs and a body. How good is that? So, I just realized I'm an absolute goose. That should be at the top. Go me. As I said, I'm going to leave all the mistakes for you guys to watch, and you can laugh at me as I go along. Whoop, don't delete the mirror line. I want that. Okay, let's do that one more time. Center point up here. 0.15. I might need to make that taller, but let's see how that goes for the moment. Yep, that looks good. All right, let's now assemble this all together, okay? And the way you assemble is basically what we've been doing, but if you click down here, hit Create Assembly. Okay, I'm going to rename this as Dino Assembly. And the first thing I'm going to do is insert the parts that make up my dinosaur. So you click on the insert up here, you select your body, plonk it down, select your legs, plonk it, and I want 2 pairs of legs, so select them again and plonk them again. And here's all my pieces. The next thing I want to do is start like rotating them, okay, moving it up and just getting it sort of half in the right spot. And I'll show you what I mean in a second by simply selecting our dino here, and you get these weird widget. And this is essentially what you call a move, rotate, and scale widget. What do I mean by that? There's your move. Okay, the arrows move your objects. Okay, the little weird circles rotate. And then the squares, oh, no, that's not a scale. Okay, just move. I'm making lots of mistakes, but that's all right. All right, let's rotate this around. I want to stand him up. So I'm going to grab this rotation here, and I want a 90 degrees exact, like so. Same thing for the legs. Let's rotate them up. And around. So the around is going to be this one here. Another 90. Okay, rotate them up. And around. Like so. Now, rather than trying to slot these legs into the exact spot and maybe it's a little bit off or whatever, I'm going to make OnShape do the hard work for me. I'm going to say to OnShape, this slot and this slot belong together. And the easiest way to do that is tell OnShape that this tiny little rectangle on the inside here should match up with the tiny rectangle on the inside here. And it will essentially glue them together. And this is awesome. So you want to use what's called a fastened mate. Now, all these mates up here are amazing. You can make like moving parts that stick to a certain track, all that kind of stuff. But let's keep it simple. Let's start by clicking on fastened mate. And it's saying, what do you want to connect together? Well, I want to connect this flat face. So click here. Mate, it's only going to accept the corner. Really? There we go. All right, zoom out and let's try and zoom in on this bit. And wabam. Hit the tick. Now you'll notice it's too high. Like it's really stuck up in there. So the way I'm going to fix that is I'm going to change the size of the hole on the dinosaur in a second. Let's just get these ones done. I'm going to fasten this one. Fastened. It's already up there, so click there. This is really awkward, even with the mouse. And yeah, again, it's too deep. So let's go back to our body right here, and let's make these holes a little bit smaller. Edit Sketch 2, go to the top. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this. The simplest way would be to grab the line, whoops, and just drag it down. Oop, I accidentally selected both at the same time, so let's go back up. So I'm not being accurate with this. I'm sort of just doing it by eye, and I'm actually really happy with how that looks. Okay, so guys, that's how you recreate your sketch in OnShape, and in the next video, I'm going to show you how you get it ready for laser cutting.